Hi folks, hope you all are doing well. I'm Karan Bandal from Econosite, your weekly wrap on economic news from India and around the world. So let's get started with the United States. Business activity in the US goes up according to Flash PMI. Now we know PMI, that is Purchasing Managers Index, indicates whether the business activity is expanding or contracting. PMI above 50 means expansion and below 50 is contraction. Flash PMI is an advanced estimate of the final PMI. Final PMI will get released a week later. Let's look at Flash PMI for now. For the US, S&P Global Composite Flash PMI came in at 53.3 for the month of March 2023. A solid expansion indicating an acceleration of output to the fastest since May of last year. This upturn is uneven though, being driven largely by the service sector. Again, speaking of Flash PMI numbers for the United States, let's look at the breakdown of the composite PMI. Services PMI posted 53.8 in March compared to manufacturing PMI at 49.4. Service sector is doing the heavy lifting here while manufacturing struggles. Concerning aspects of the survey were the pace of selling price inflation quickened at the end of the first quarter and the rate of increase was the fastest in the last 5 months. Stronger overall demand conditions resulted in faster employment growth as well. Both these factors are likely to push US inflation higher at a time when the US Fed is battling a banking crisis triggered by elevated interest rates, which means the US Fed may not be able to pause rate hikes or go for rate cuts just yet. If they do, inflation may spike up even higher. If they don't, they risk the banking sector's stability. We'll see how they handle the situation going forward. Let's go to the second largest economy, China's economic rebound, weaker than expected. China, a manufacturing powerhouse, is the factory of the world. This export-led economy has a trade surplus with almost every major nation. So, the movement of shipping containers to and from China or trading volume associated with the Chinese economy can be a decent gauge for its economic health. According to Maersk, China's economic rebound is weaker than expected. Maersk is a Danish shipping firm active in inland freight transportation. With 2022 revenue of roughly $81 billion, it is the world's second largest container group. Clearly, their assessment holds plenty of water with regards to the economy of an export-led nation like China. Experts were expecting a strong rebound after China abruptly scrapped its zero-COVID policy and reopened. Maersk says they have not seen that rebound yet. 70% of the Chinese savings were in real estate, which has been hit hard by a government crackdown on leverage. Chinese stocks have underperformed. Profits at Chinese industrial groups slumped 23% almost in Jan to Feb 2023. There is negative sentiment when you follow news in China, which is compounded by geopolitical tensions between China and the United States. All these factors may have been affecting consumer confidence, suppressing the economic activity there. Maersk also added that there is no sign of this China-US decoupling beyond the high-tech sector, and high-tech sector anyways accounted for a fraction of volume of China's exports and imports. In fact, China's trade with the rest of the world hit a record in 2022. So it is a mixed picture when it comes to the China's economy so far this year. Maersk warned that their underlying profits will plunge this year to between $2 and $5 billion from a record $31 billion last year, bolstering a forecast that the global economy is slowing. Now on to India. S&P retains India's growth forecasts. S&P Global Ratings has retained its economic growth forecast for India at 7% for the current fiscal year ending in March 2023. 6% for the upcoming fiscal year and a growth of 6.9% for the fiscal year 2024-25. On price rise, the rating agency expects retail inflation to fall to 5% in the upcoming fiscal year from the current level of 6.8%. However, they expect the Reserve Bank of India to maintain more of a hawkish stance in line with the other major central banks, including the US Fed. RBI may go for a 25 basis points rate hike when they meet in April 2023, bringing India's main rate to 6.75%. On average, S&P expects India to grow at around 7% from 2024 to 2026 and return to an over 7% growth rate by 2026-27. So, barring any major economic policy error by the government, India is poised for a good run for the next 4 to 5 fiscal years at least. Finally, do you like tea? And does your country's tea consumption match with your choice of drink? World Tea Conference and Expo took place in Las Vegas in the last week of March 2023. This is the largest annual gathering of the global tea industry. Suppliers, merchants, exhibitors, speakers, and other industry professionals from all around the world come together for this expo. Look at this data from Statista's Consumer Market Insights. China is the largest market for tea in the world. Chinese tea market is estimated at almost $100 billion. Next best is India, with the total sales of roughly $16 billion. Despite the fact that both the countries have almost 1.4 billion people each, China's tea consumption is almost 6 times that of India's. This gap mirrors the difference between the size of their economies, with Chinese economy being almost 6 times that of India's. We can loosely say that in terms of purchasing power then, both the countries prefer tea to the same extent. In the third place was Japan with the market size for tea at $14.5 billion and the US was fourth at $13.4 billion. These are even richer nations, so in terms of purchasing power, these countries clearly prefer other drinks to tea. In summary, despite the calls for a recession, US economy is still in a decent shape, primarily driven by the service sector. Manufacturing sector has started to show some weakness. China's reopening has not brought the expected bounce to its own economic growth or to the global growth. India is seen to be cruising at 6 to 7% growth rate for the next 4 to 5 fiscal years, and it appears that both India and China share a similar love for tea. I hope you enjoyed this week's wrap. I'll speak with you again next week. Until then, take care.